Hey, how's it going everyone? It's me, Josh. Welcome to Story Time. If it's your first time, here we go. Get ready. We're about to read Mr. Rush, but if you're reading another story with me, welcome back. Hope you're excited. We're reading Mr. Rush. It's by Roger Hargreaves. It's from the Mr. Men library. And don't worry, we will be getting, for all you little misses out there, we're going to be getting to the Little Miss library of books as well. Oh, I'm so hungry, my belly is rumbling. Let's read this story so that I can have myself some food after we read this book. If you're eating now, awesome. Breakfast, lunch or dinner. Some of you might be watching from anywhere in the world, and that's pretty cool. All right, Mr. Rush by Roger Hargreaves. Here we go. Get comfortable, get ready, because we're about to delve into story time. That's right, let's go. Mr. Rush was the fastest thing on two legs. He used to rush hither and thither and thither and hither and back again all the time. And of course, he was always in such a rush that he never ever finished anything properly. Look at Mr. Rush go there, zooming around. One morning, he woke up with a jump. He'd only had time for 3 hours sleep because he'd been rushing about for so long the day before. Oh dear, he cried, leaping out of bed, I'm late. And he rushed into his bathroom and washed not very well as he was in such a hurry and cleaned one tooth and rushed downstairs 3 at a time. So he's jumping down 3 steps. Be careful doing that. Falling down the stairs is scary, dangerous. So just be careful doing that stuff. Mr. Rush had a boiled egg and toast and a cup of tea for breakfast. He boiled the egg for 5 seconds, and it tasted awful. He toasted the bread for 1 second, and so it wasn't brown at all. And as he couldn't bear to wait for the kettle to boil, he made his tea with cold water. Ugh, what a horrid breakfast. And of course, he was in such a rush, he only ate half of it. Rush, rush, rush. Silly fellow. Look, he doesn't look very happy that he has to rush all the time. Got to be better at managing time. After his half a breakfast, he rushed off again. Out of his front door, leaving it open. Down his garden path, out of his garden gate, leaving it open too. And off down the lane. Look, he's got gusts of cloud flying behind his feet, because that's how fast he moves. He passed Mr. Happy. Hello, called Mr. Happy. Good morning, Mr. Rush. Where are you off to? Can't stop, cried Mr. Rush. I'm in too much of a hurry. I can see that, thought Mr. Happy to himself as he watched Mr. Rush disappear into the distance. I wonder where he's going. Where Mr. Rush was going was nowhere. Fast, as usual. Mr. Rush rushed around all morning and then rushed home and had a quick bite to eat. A sandwich without bread. And then rushed off again. And rushed around all afternoon. Like rushing the way he did back on like the first page. Just everywhere. That evening he was reading a magazine. He never had time to read a book. When he saw an advertisement for a holiday. Ooh, he said, I'd like that. I haven't had a holiday for ages. But then his face fell. I can't go on holiday, he thought, because I don't have any money. And then he thought again, and his face rose. I know, he thought. I'll get a job. There he is. A job so he can go on holiday. And so the following morning he rushed off and got a job with a farmer, milking cows. There he goes, getting the pail to fill it up with milk, or bucket. But of course he wasn't any good at that, because if there's one thing a cow can't stand, it's being rushed, especially when she's being milked. Cow's not too happy because Mr. Rush would just be too quick. So Mr. Rush rushed off and got himself another job, driving a bus. And it'd be dangerous, I bet, because he's going to drive that bus really quickly, don't you think? Yeah. But of course, he wasn't any good at that because he wasn't always in such a rush. He never stopped at any of the bus stops. Even worse, it's not even about him driving like a lunatic. It's just, he doesn't even stop at any of the stops. Then everyone would just be left waiting. And if there's one thing people waiting at a bus stop don't like, it's when the bus doesn't stop for them, right? Yeah, and they can't go anywhere. Oh, so I think we've got, that looks like Mr. Nosy, Mr. Small, and Mr. Silly? It is. Mr. Nosy, Mr. Small, and Mr. Silly. All there waiting at the bus stop. Mr. Rush left them. Zoomed past. So Mr. Rush rushed off and got himself another job as a waiter in a hotel. Might be an alright job, just depends if he just rushes too quick. But of course he wasn't any good at that, because no sooner had he served people a meal and they'd taken one bite, then he whisked the plate away from under their noses. And if there's one thing hungry people can't stand, it's having food whisked away from them. Isn't it? Mr. Greedy, of course. Mr. Greedy in that chair. Thought that might have been the case. Mr. Greedy wouldn't like his food taken away. Eats a lot. Poor Mr. Rush, no job, no money. Oh dear, he sighed to himself. I'm never going to be able to go on holiday. He looked very glum and gloomy. But then an idea struck him. An idea for a job. For someone who rushes around all the time. An ideal job for someone who is the fastest thing on two legs. Do you know what that job was? Would you like to know what that job was? I know I would. Shall we turn the page and find out? Yeah. Postman! Delivering express letters! Isn't that a good idea? Yeah. Mr. Rush was so good at it, he delivered twice as many letters in half the time any postman had ever done it before. Soon he had saved enough money for that holiday of his. Look at him stoked. Zooming around. People get their letters delivered to them fast. He gets paid. Everyone's happy. And so the very next week, there was Mr. Rush sitting on a beach in the hot sunshine under a palm tree on holiday. This is the life, he grinned and rushed off for a swim. There he is there. Chilling, relaxing, holiday. His 15th that day. And then it was breakfast time. Went for 15 swims. And then it was breakfast time. Speaking of food, I might go and make myself a little bite to eat now. If you've had dinner, breakfast, lunch, wherever you are there, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the story today. Thanks so much for reading it with me. It means the world that you read these with me. Alright, bye for now, but not forever. Please subscribe to the channel, then you can visit the page and read stories whenever. See ya.